You know, we have to be able to live through that. It's kind of a liminal state, the state between.
Yeah.
And that's difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And at those times, it's the most important time to maintain some kind of inner focus and not to despair. You have to be able to go through that death of certain aspects of yourself for the new to awaken and stand up.
Well,
and it expresses itself in every area. You feel in those big transition moments, periods, out of balance. Your system is out of balance. But that's also something that has to be tolerated, you know. When you think of the rising energy, you have to burn up these old patterns, and that ignites and that lifts us up. And then you form a new, reborn set of patterns that are better and more functional than what you had before. But then maybe you go even further, and you go further. And ultimately, you know, you are not attached to any patterns. This is a goal. You see them, but it's all fuel. And the more we can be, you know, connected with that core, and that's the spine, the energy rises, and it rises above. And then we have a much, much bigger perspective, and we are really free and open and in touch with that universal. So it's an exciting transformation process, but it's also not the easiest thing in the world. You know, the easiest thing in the world is to just coast and be satisfied with as things are, and to more or less repress and deny anything that comes up from within. You know, you worked hard to have your identity, you worked hard to have this job, you have all of this you get very attached to. Yeah? You cling to it. First you chase after it, then you cling to it. Chase and cling, chase and cling. So, you know, now you're having some experience in not doing that. And what that results in is a real reorganization of your inner mechanism. It takes time to get strong enough to really be able to hold that. I wouldn't worry or think too much about what happens to me after physical death, because you can have all kinds of fantasies about that, but the fact, I think, is, and you can sense that in yourself, that when you now go into this deeper state, and as you develop a psychic system that can hold more of that experience, it becomes less and less of any concern that your body and ego will fall away. Because you already have the experience of that, oh, I just am. All this work that we do while we live builds up and makes it much easier to transition into that state without the body. To be aware of death is really valuable while we live.
Yeah.
Not to.
Sorry, isn't it that we go back to the, you know, to what actually we are? You know, we are that state. So this is, you know, if we go through it, you know, this is just to get rid of all these veils and patterns and to find our real self, the original state. So it's kind of just, you know, going back to the source that we already are. You know, we are nothing different. We just have different layers.
We already are that light. You know, we go back to that light, and we were that light before we were born. The whole thing is that the energy vibrates throughout the universe and gives rise to all these forms. And I am one form, you are another form, but we are all expressions of the same energy.
But we also need to see there is some sadness by declining in that way and take care of that sadness while we are here. So it will be easier to recognize the essence from sitting here when we go there.
Yeah, and you know, the sadness is also an expression of that energy. So that when you penetrate into the core of it, you see, well, you know, that there's nothing to be sad about really, but at the same time not repressing and denying it.
Absolutely.
Then you embrace it with your deeper awareness.
But we come here as essence, live a life, and then we go back to be essence.
To be essence again.
Yeah.
What's then the point of living?
What's the point of living?
Yeah.
The point of living is to become conscious of that. That's the point of living. For me, and also that's what's expressed in these texts, you know, is that you have this body as this life as an opportunity to go back to your original state. This is what I was saying a little bit about yesterday with the 36 tattvas. You know, the description of how this Param Shiva, which is beyond time and space, this mystical source of everything,
Bring that here.
How that unfolds from the finest, highest levels, becomes time and space, and then it becomes us eventually, and all of these physical manifestations, our ability to taste, hear, see, all of that. But it's to learn to, in a way, go backwards, go into ourselves, open our eyes within the deeper part of ourselves. And without a body, we don't have that possibility, you know? And we could think of maybe, if you think of Param Shiva sitting there, beyond time and space, I mean, why is the whole universe created? Well, the texts describe it as the play of consciousness, the dance of Shiva. It's boring to sit there outside time and space.
Yeah, what to do out there?
You can't appreciate yourself. I mean, it's like there's no... So unfolding this whole universe is for the sake of really appreciate him or herself, you know? And then you...
Maya, you know, the cosmic game also.
The cosmic game.
They were just bored and they said, oh, let's have a little bit of fun. See the humans struggling.
Yeah. So, you know, we can have that attitude also a little bit, that even though it's very painful and very difficult, there is an element of just enjoyment in that even. You know?
Well, it's kind of what's going on inside, because you have to, you know, it's kind of killing some old patterns, you know. What you think is actually you is not really you. So it's
just
permanent, you know, death and rebirth. So it's kind of you kill old
stuff, attachments. And the different traditions have different ways of presenting that, but it's essentially the same. You know, you want to learn to be in the deepest state that you can possibly be. You want to be the best person you can be, and the best person you can be is free of identity and ego.
But that takes time.
Of course it takes time.
It takes me
incarnations
to do that.
But, you know,
But this practice is a very good practice into that.
As we go through the death and rebirth process, we train ourselves to really be comfortable. Not comfortable exactly, but to really be surrendered into that. It's okay, you know. And it's okay because the alternative is so much worse. I mean, think about it. If you have, you know, 100 million lifetimes more to go through and repeat the same patterns over and 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 over again. I mean, we should be grateful for death, grateful for life and grateful for death. death is a wonderful release into that deeper reality that we come from. But we have to train ourselves to
feel it and see it and understand it.
Yeah.
That's the
thing. And for that we need, the chakras need to be open, we need to have this energy flow inside, you know. I mean, the Buddhists, they describe a human birth as very, very, very extremely unlikely to be born. So it's a little bit like having an air bubble from the depth of the Atlantic Ocean hitting a lifebuoy on the top.
Yeah.
Not very likely to happen. So, but we take this life for granted.
Yeah.
We have it, so of course we should have it. Well, there's much, 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 much more chance that we shouldn't have it. So if we relate to it as a gift that makes it possible for us to go backwards into that deeper awareness, where we don't have all of these patterns and tensions controlling us, but we manage to see them, yes, embrace them, yes, but we are not caught in that as a prison. We can open the door, open the gateway, go into the deeper state, and when we need to go back in to exercise our ego and identity, we do that. But we still know that there is that deeper state. It's really very exciting, despite the pain of it. It really is. So, and gratitude is an extremely important part of the process. It's like the oil in the transition process. To be grateful for it even when it is difficult.